So we had news today. Justin Jefferson signed a contract extension, 4 years, $140 million. And he's basically, I mean, if he's not the number one wide receiver, he's really up there.
He's
So
really up there. Yeah. I mean,
he's
it's
the
money well
one.
spent.
Yeah.
That is a lot of money. That's a highest paid non-quarterback position in the NFL, I believe. I mean, that's a crazy amount of money.
See, if you're gonna pay someone, you want to pay the best. The problem
Look at that.
is when you pay a lot of money to somebody that doesn't deserve a lot of money.
We have a
Like
lot of
giving,
that.
when Danny Dimes got $40 million a year, that was a disaster. Now
Yeah.
they're stuck with the dude.
Yeah, they're stuck with them. Or even what they did with Russell Wilson in Denver. I mean, I don't know who would ever call that a good deal. Do you know what I mean? Even if Russell Wilson had played fairly well, that amount of money was obscene.
Um, I believe they gave him that money before he even played a game with Denver.
He did. Yeah, they did. They had it all set up. Like he was brought to be like the savior of the Denver Broncos. And with nothing else in place, like no solid offensive scheme, no targets for him to utilize, nothing that they could say like, "Oh, this is our guy who fits, like this is the missing piece. We just need to plug him in." And that was not the case there. I mean, I think it's much more the case with the Steelers that I think that, what we were missing was a quarterback, and he's a solid game manager. Even if he's not Super Bowl Russell Wilson, I think he fits into Arthur Smith's offense a lot better, and it makes a lot more sense. Plus, we're paying him nothing.
Literally minimum
Essentially, I
wage.
could I could almost write that check.
Yeah, yeah, that's just so funny. And I mean, they go to Denver week 2. And I don't know how much you follow college football, but
Yeah, a
in
lot.
college football, the big colleges, they'll go to the tiny colleges and actually pay them to play
Pay
that
them
game.
to
And
beat up on them.
sometimes those tiny colleges actually win. So it's like
Yeah,
you just paid some dudes to beat you, you dummy.
right, right, right. Yeah, that
And that's,
happens.
yeah, in theory, it could happen that the Broncos will be paying Russell Wilson millions of dollars to beat them.
To beat them. That's kind of hysterical, but very true. But you think about it, and anybody like who would argue that there's no like script in the NFL, I would be like, really, please look at the Steelers schedule for 2024 and tell me again how there's no script. Like
Right.
playing the Chiefs on Christmas Day. Like we all know everybody hates the Steelers. They want to ruin our Christmas. They're not
Yeah.
Santa Claus.
Yeah. There's something going on there.
Yeah.
But with this Justin Jefferson thing, you know, like you said, most paid to a non-quarterback ever. The with the contracts going up, they're getting more money coming in. This is the norm. You're going to be paying a wide receiver tons of money. But that's going to affect the Steelers, and how it's going to affect the Steelers is all this talk about they need a number two wide receiver because they
Yeah.
don't have one right now. They need a number two wide receiver. Who they gonna get? If they try to get a big dude like Ayuk or Debo or whoever, they're gonna have to pay him
A
close to
lot.
Justin Jefferson money. And do they want to do that? Do you want to spend that much money on a wide receiver?
I don't believe for 1 second the Steelers are going to do that. I mean, I don't know what happens with all of this. I mean, maybe if, like this all pans out in a perfect world and Russell Wilson wins the quarterback for or Super Bowl for us this year, but somehow we know that Justin Fields is incredible and we like pass the scepter to him for 2025 and we're so excited about this and you need that wide receiver for next year. I still don't know how you justify paying Justin Jefferson money. And I look at the Vikings, they're doing it with Sam Darnold at quarterback. I mean, isn't he their quarterback? Like, I just
Well,
don't.
he is, and then it's going to be they got that JJ
Oh,
McCarthy they
right.
drafted.
McCarthy. Yeah.
So
So
basically,
he's
yeah, you're paying
tournament.
nothing to your
Yeah.
quarterback,
Yeah.
and so you could
Which I
give.
guess is the time that you have to do it, but we've seen it before. I mean, we lived in that like salary cap purgatory with Ben. Do you know what I mean? For a while, and it's a killer. And we weren't paying Ben nearly what they're paying Justin Jefferson.
Yeah, yeah. Uh, the a good scenario I've heard and is if they try to get Cortland Sutton,
Yeah,
and if they don't extend him because he is signed through 2025, if
right,
they don't get him, he counts 17 million toward this year and 17 million toward next year, which
right.
is not great, but still, not 35 million.
Yeah, it's
So,
bearable. That's doable.
and to give up for him, what would they would give up is probably like a third round draft pick or something like
You would
that.
think.
It's
Yeah.
doable. What would you have to give up for Brandon Ayuk? Probably a first or something like that.
It seemed like it, but now that time's gone on and nothing's happened and no one's taken, you know what I mean? That value starts to drop and drop. And I don't know if that's part of the Steelers like game, so to speak. Do you know what I mean? Or part of what they're trying to do is hold out for some of these guys. But there's a part of me, like in my gut, that tells me there is no wide receiver two. Wide jokes on you. Wide receiver two is Pat Fryermuth, and you know what I mean? And that's how they're going to look at running this offense. And we're not really worried about picking up somebody else. We've got Van Jefferson, we've got Quez Watkins. Do you know what I mean? We'll be fine. But then I think, well, what if George Pickens goes down with an injury? Then what do we do?
Yeah, yeah,
We
yeah.
can't go with just Pickens. And I like
That's
the
the
kid. Like
thing.
I think he's got talent.
Well, that's another big question.
Yeah.
Last year, he was the not the guy. He was
Right.
the second guy. And this year, he's going to be the guy.
He has to be the guy. Yeah. He's the
We don't know
guy
if he
by
could handle
default.
that. We don't know if if he could handle being the number one dude. Number one dude means you get double teamed and stuff like that.
Yeah.
What if he gets mad that he's not getting his catches because he's getting blanketed or something like
Yeah.
that? We don't know.
I think there's a chance we take with that with him and anybody else. And I think that this is the opportunity for Pickens to have separated himself from Deontay Johnson and to show that he has matured, he has grown up, he is not that guy. Do you know what I mean? And he can handle this. And it's actually a part of why I kind of thought that bringing Juju Smith-Schuster back to Steelers would be a good idea, because I know that there's a lot of fans that don't like him, and I know that there's fans that have changed their mind about him. Like Jerry Dulac came out and said like he's flipped camps now, Andrew Filipponi, now they don't hate him anymore, and they would welcome him back. But there was a part of me that thought, he was so young when he entered the league, like 20 years old when we drafted him or something. He couldn't even buy a drink, like he was a baby.
Yeah.
And so, there's a part of me that thought he could be a guy that could come into this role now more mature and tell Pickens, like, I made some of these mistakes and I regret it. Like I could have stayed with Pittsburgh. I could have had this family for a long time, maybe for my whole career. Do you know what I mean? And I wouldn't heed the advice other people were giving me. And maybe Pickens is at that place where he's ready to listen to that or hear that.
I think Juju would be perfect.
I do too.
Um, you
I
know,
don't hate
the
it.
the dude likes to block. The dude likes to
Mhm.
get physical.
He's tough.
And that's what they need in this offense. They need somebody to help with the running game. So,
And I
God,
worry about like bringing in a Brandon Ayuk or now, I mean, Justin Jefferson's off the table now, but when we were talking about him, and how does that fit when you've got these two clear, like number one wide receivers? Like George Pickens is going to feel like this is his gig. Do you know what I mean? And should be like, I paid my dues. I bided my time. Like this should be my gig. And if they bring in somebody else that's a better wide receiver for them, how well does he do taking a step back from Brandon Ayuk?
how do you think he's going to handle that if they say to him right now, there's like, hey, you're the guy. You're the guy. You're number one guy, and they get a Brandon Ayuk, and they pay him $30 million a year, and he's here making pennies because he's still on his rookie contract. He's like, what I thought I was the guy, and now I'm nothing, and I'm making peanuts, and this guy's making a ton. Like what's going on here? So yeah, you got to be careful with that.
If they flipped the script on him, I wouldn't even blame him for being upset. Like if they
Yeah,
told him, like, you're
yeah.
our guy, you're definitely our guy, then you can't go and pull somebody else out and bring them in. Do you know what I mean? Like I know it's business and I know that happens, but I'd be mad too. You know what I mean? If you got somebody got pulled in and given your job over you at work and you kind of got a demotion, you'd be mad, like that wouldn't be okay. It doesn't matter what your job is.
right.
So my hope is that, and I'm always a little bit optimistic, that, but my hope is that Pickens really is able to see this for the opportunity it is, to be able to rise to the occasion. I'm hoping that part of his issue was frustration over Kenny Pickett and the Matt Canada offense. And with those things having been alleviated, that he'll be able to go into this season with like a fresh, optimistic outlook, feeling like he's the man, and the confidence will help him rise to the occasion.
It's so tough being a wide receiver because your entire salary, your entire existence is based on what somebody else does.
Yeah,
If
dependence.
you have a lousy quarterback that's not going to get you the ball, you're screwed. If you have a lousy offensive coordinator
Yeah,
that makes lousy plays and has a horrible offense, you're screwed.
yeah,
And then they say you suck and you're not getting any money. So it's very frustrating on a wide receiver's end. So
yeah, yeah.
we'll
It's a
see.
tough gig. I mean, and there's other expectations too. I mean, you're expected to be out there blocking, do you know what I mean? Especially not just for passing for your counterpart, but also in the run game. Do you know what I mean? You're expected to do other things, and those are things that you get a lot of heat for, but don't necessarily get a lot of credit for. I mean, how often do your wide receivers get credit for blocking unless you're Hines Ward?
Right.
It's
Right.
not something that you hear that often.
Yeah, and we're talking about 21, 22-year-old kids here,
Yeah,
20, that every little that the microscope is on them, and every little move they make is analyzed. And
right.
yeah, he got mad and he went through that, not blocking thing. But
Yeah,
when he first started, he was a monster with blocking. He
right,
would like
right.
pancake people.
Yeah.
So
I think a lot of it's psychological. Look, in my former life, I was a behavior specialist. I tell people this all the time. There is a reason why the auto insurance industry does not lower males' car insurance until they turn 25. And that is because the male brain is not fully developed.
right,
The impulsivity, the risk taking, that part of your brain is still immature until you're 25, which is when we're bringing these kids into the NFL. So you
right.
look at them out there drag racing, drunk driving, blowing money at the strip club, and getting into arrogant fights with their counterparts or their coaches on the
Yeah.
sideline because they think they know best. I mean, it's typical behavior, but most 21 to 25-year-olds aren't in the spotlight making millions of dollars.
Exactly, exactly. It's one thing to be a young dude and
Yeah,
just do a thing. It's another thing when you have millions of dollars.
right,
And
right.
the other thing is, it used to be the question was when you drafted someone, oh, now they're making millions of dollars. How are they going to handle that? Well, actually, now they're making millions of dollars in
Still,
college. And
still.
so, and you
Yep.
see things like that one, there was that one Colorado kid. He filed for bankruptcy already.
Yeah,
He's like a sophomore in college. Some of it's a skill. It's something you have to handle with
yeah.
all the fame and the money and all the spotlight. How are you going to handle that?
Yeah, I grew up fast. I was a pretty responsible young adult. And even still, if you'd handed me $10 million when I was in colleges, oh my God, please. I'd have been like out partying every night. I mean, come on.
Yeah,
I'd have had a
yeah.
fancy car. I'd have been speeding all over campus.
Oh,
I mean, seriously,
God,
would
I
have been a
would.
nightmare.
Yeah, yeah. I would. I would buy the stupidest things too.
Oh, completely, completely, completely.
The other question is, what are they going to do with the offensive line? Are they going to, obviously, we know what they want to do. They want to put Broderick Jones at left tackle and Fautanu at right tackle. But is that how they're going to start the season? Is that how they're going to do in training camp? Is that eventually what they're going to do? Or should they? Or should they just start with, it's like, these are the dudes, you guys figure it out. This is the group. You form a cohesive unit, and there, we'll just start out this way.
Yeah. I think that they're going to let Broderick Jones stay at right tackle, at least for now. I think, Fautanu is the one with less experience. Do you know what I mean? I think Jones proved that he could do this last season. Um, Omar Khan talked a lot in the end of last season and over the off season about how the team is valuing all of this agility, positional agility, and the ability to be flexible in your position, and that's a big part of what they were looking for, and I believe that's part of what led them to Fautanu. I think that that's part of why they liked him. So maybe they'll let them play it out a little bit at training camp and see, do you know what I mean, how they each do on each side of the line. But I mean, my gut tells me that they're going to keep Broderick Jones at left tackle. They're already talking about how, like Ray Fittipaldo was talking about how Broderick Jones has already been like mentoring these young guys, like Zach Frazier, taking him under his wing and mentoring Fautanu and taking him under his wing and kind of playing this leadership role. And to me, that just makes the most sense. I don't see you switching his position when he's already
I
proven he can do it.
I gotta give credit to Dan Moore
Oh my gosh,
Jr.
what a professional.
What a professional.
Yeah.
That he's had interviews last week, and he knows what's going on. He
He
sees
does.
what's going on, and he's been nice, helpful. At least he's saying all the right things. It is funny that you
Well, we
know,
watched him mentor Broderick Jones last year, and this guy's coming in to take your job.
yeah, this
And,
is your
and, and here you
replacement.
are, like, I mean, God, like what a nice guy. Like, I wish the best for him, but I also think you know who you are. Do you know what I mean? You played up to your draft position, sort of, and you did well at the Steelers. I know that the Steelers fans don't view it that way, but considering where he was drafted, I think he performed well, and I think he's got an opportunity to go to another team in the league and do reasonably well. Do you know what I mean? He's not ever going to be the greatest offensive lineman in the league, but
The dude is
reliable
set.
for who
He
he is.
he knows no matter what happens, the dude is set. The
Yeah.
next contract he gets, he's going to have a nice contract because
Yeah.
people are going to see it's like, well, he was a starter for 3 years. I mean, that's very valuable. And he was a fourth round draft pick. And no, he wasn't the best tackle in the league, but he wasn't as bad as people say. And he
Mm-mm.
started almost the entire time in the last 3 years.
Mm-hmm.
I
And
he
on top of that, the professionalism, I think all of it, you know what I mean? The leadership that he brings. I mean, that's part of what you're looking for if you're trying to bring in younger guys. And yeah, I think he's got a lot going for him. So whether he, stays with the Steelers for now or not, I mean, I think he's got a bright enough future for a fourth round draft pick.
yeah, yeah. Don't crap on the dude. Don't,
Mm-mm.
just think of all the fourth round draft picks out there and how many of them barely either don't start or don't
Yeah.
do anything. And this dude started like you got a lot of value out of this dude out of a very important position.
People
That's
talk about him
valuable.
being like a bust. I'm like, a bust is a first rounder, like maybe a high second rounder. Like nobody
Right.
in the fourth round is a bust. Like those are guys that you borderline think of as being backups or maybe even practice squad. You know what I mean? You weren't thinking about them being your 3 year starter. He started as a rookie and started for 3 years, acted as a leader on that team. I mean, that's not who you typically expect your fourth rounders to be.
If you get anything out of a fourth rounder, if you
Yeah.
get any playing, like even 50% playing time out of a fourth rounder, that's a win.
Yeah, I tell people all the time, I believe he played up beyond his draft potential. Do you know what I mean? And that's all we can ask for. He was also on a terrible offensive line with a terrible offensive coordinator. Do you know what I mean? And not a great quarterback situation. And I just think he had a lot working against him. And I thought, throughout all of that, I thought he continued to put his best foot forward and do the best he could.
Yeah, yeah. And folks, don't read into what we see in OTAs because they're just playing around with things.
No pads, just fun.
Yeah, don't. It drives me crazy when I
I
see
know.
see certain clips. It's like, oh, look at this, look at what they're doing. Like
I
it's
love the ones where guys are like, "Oh, so and so is a beast. He's going so hard." I'm like, "It's OTAs. They don't have on pads. Nobody's doing
they're in
hard."
shorts.
Right. Nobody's doing anything hard. This is like backyard football.
Yeah,
Maybe not even that aggressive.
yeah, yeah. So at some point we have the mandatory mini camp, and then they have, and then the training camp.
Right.
I heard the Players Association wants to say, screw all this. Let's just put it all together into just like one long training camp and not have these OTAs and not have this mini camp and just go, middle of August and that's it.
Hmm.
I don't know. I
I mean,
think
from a fan perspective, I like the OTAs, and I feel like, I mean, obviously, I'm not a professional football player and haven't lived it, but it feels to me like it would be nice to have that, like dipping your toe back in. You show up for OTAs, you meet the new guys, you throw the ball around a little bit, you get to know them, so you feel comfortable talking with them prior to the training camp starting. You know what I mean? And you start to build that relationship. To me, that's like a relationship building time. Do you know what I mean? It's
right.
lighter. It's not as heavy as camp.
If you're going like 3, 4, 5 months without
Right.
talking to a dude or
Yeah.
seeing a dude, I don't think that's good. I
Yeah. I
think
mean,
I
think
think that
about
is that,
like,
that little check-in in the middle of the off season just
right.
to
Like think
see if
about the
everything's
wide
okay.
receivers and the tight ends and everything, getting to know running backs, all
Yeah,
getting to work with Russell Wilson and Justin Fields, and then the line getting to be there. So this is different than like Russell inviting everybody to Florida or California or whatever to throw the ball with him. Do you know what I mean? Because now everybody's there, and you get this chance to kind of build that relationship in a way that's like not a pressure cooker. You go back for camp and people's jobs are on the line, however many of these guys are all getting cut, they're not going to be here come September. And to me, I just think it just provides a different atmosphere to kind of watch them grow together, like, and get to know each other.
did they go to Kennywood today?
They did. I saw
They went to
that. They went
Kennywood.
to Kennywood as part of, I love it as part of, but see, that's the kind of
See,
thing. Like
that's what you want. You
that's
want
the
that's
kind of thing.
oh. Have you ever been to Kennywood?
Yes,
It's a fun time.
it is a fun
That's
time.
that's
I
fun.
saw
I
that. That's
saw them
very cool
on
thing to
roller
do.
coasters together, and like that's cute.
But
It's just
that's the stuff, like as fans at least, that we love. And like I even think about jobs I've had. The thing that makes your job bearable are those relationships with your coworkers. Do you know what I mean? That you have these people that are your friends, that you joke with, that you can complain about your boss with, whatever it is. And you hear those guys tell those stories, that former players, and they're always these lighthearted stories about the jokes somebody played and
right.
putting a snake in Jack Lambert's room, and do you know what I mean? And making fun of Mike Tomlin at the talent show. And do you know what I mean? It's that kind of stuff. And that builds that team camaraderie that you have to be successful at professional sports. It's not just show up and compete.
You gotta work together and you gotta
Yeah.
know each other. Way back, when with the Penguins, when Crosby and all those guys were just real young, they would take them out to like I don't know where, but they would do these team activities where
Yeah.
y'all did something together. It's important. It's important. You got to know your teammates.
Yeah.
It's a very important.
Yeah, so I think that's a mistake. But I think all of this extra money to, the increase in pay to wide receivers, all of these salaries. I mean, this clearly looks like the arrow pointing at right at 18 games. Do you know what I mean? Like, how else
Oh
are they going
yeah.
to pay for this? I mean, that's coming sooner rather than later.
I think if they do 18 games, they should have 2 bye weeks.
Yeah,
I
I
think
think
that's
that makes a lot of sense.
I think that's fair. Um,
Especially if they start doing more international games, because it is not fair to expect people to go play in Ireland or something like that. I mean, Mexico's not so bad. At least the time difference isn't substantial. But you look at going to Ireland, like that's a significant time difference. Talking about Germany, countries like that, and then you try to come back and play in 4 days. I mean, you can't do that.
that's happening. You know that
I know it is.
there
It's already happened.
there's going to be a time when every team every year
Yes.
has to have one international game.
Yes.
And yeah,
But their bye
that's
week needs to come the week after that. Like that, you know what I mean? You play in Ireland, your bye week is the next week
right.
or something. There's got to be something to help balance that out, because we
Eh,
look at how bad we got screwed last year with that. We had that Monday night game and then the Thursday game. I mean, or
Yeah.
whatever it was. And that's just craziness. I mean, you talk about your concern as player safety and then you schedule that. I mean, that doesn't make sense.
It's nuts. It's nuts. And you see this year's schedule, the Saturday before Christmas, and then
Yeah,
and Wednesday Christmas
yeah,
game.
that's
Like,
crazy.
and they say, well, they get that weekend, they get that extra little half bye week,
Oh,
they get
please.
those extra days off. It's like, yeah, but
But not then. And that's, yeah, that's just not the same. That doesn't make up for that.
yeah. Yeah, there's going to be international games. There's going to be Friday games. There's probably going to be a Wednesday game all the time. It's our fault. It's our fault because we pay, no matter what, we pay attention to it.
We pay attention to it. We pay for it. We attend the games. We buy the jerseys. We talk about it incessantly.
The you know, people say, "Oh my God, they're making people pay for a game on Christmas, and they have to pay
Oh,
for Netflix." Like,
get out of here.
I already have Netflix. Sorry.
Right.
Um,
Sorry you don't.
and if you're in the Pittsburgh area, like
Right.
any game that's on one of these, weird networks or
Right.
whatever, it's on a local TV
It's on a
station.
local
That's like
channel.
that's the
Right.
deal. So it's
Right.
going to be local. You don't have to, if you're in Yinzer, you don't have to pay for Netflix. Don't worry.
Right. And I've managed to figure out how to somehow maneuver seeing the games anyways, even when they're on crazy services. I haven't paid for anything yet.
I
Don't live
don't
in
know. I don't know anything about that. I don't.
magic. It's magic.
It's mad.
Magic of the internet.
I like to say I know a guy. I just like
Right. Yep. Yep. I know a guy. I had a guy put one of those old hot box cable things on my house. Remember, like they used to do. Everybody knew somebody in their neighborhood that had the like magic box that gave you free boxing or something.
I remember this. I remember this magic cable boxes. Yeah, it's like,
My
oh
neighbor
my
had one when I was a little kid. We'd go over there to watch all the fights.
we would do you remember on those pay-per-view channels, it was like scrambled,
Yes.
and
Yes.
sometimes if you played with the fine tuning or something, you
Right.
could you could sort of see like the shadows of a person, and
One of my
some of those
friends was
channels were
talking about
naughty, and
that.
sometimes you saw, yeah,
Yeah.
but anyway,
One of my friends was talking about that on Twitter not too long ago, that like as a middle school student, the whole goal of their Saturday night was to try to like turn on the Playboy channel and see like boobs in between the lines, like hope you could catch like one boob going past.
it's something people don't understand. It's like, yeah, there was a
Yeah,
channel for
right,
Playboy,
right.
and
Yeah. They're like, why didn't you just watch porn on the internet? I'm like, okay, I
there
don't
was
have any
no
more energy.
internet.
I don't have any more energy to explain this.
Yeah. Yeah. I remember the whole magic box thing. It's like, oh, they're
Yeah.
gonna catch you. Oh, what if they
Um,
catch you?
Yeah, they had to like to believe the cable police were out there. I know
Right.
my grandparents believed in that, that there was like special police that rode around with like a scanner in their car and would catch you with one of those fake boxes. I'm like, no, they're really not.
Yeah.
Comcast or whoever is making enough money without doing that.
Right. But, back in the day, if you wanted to watch like a wrestling pay-per-view, it cost like $50 or
Oh, it
something,
was
like, or boxing.
expensive. Boxing
Uh,
fights, they were expensive.
remember, remember those damn Mike Tyson fights? Uh, you paid $50 and he knocked out the dude in 30
In
seconds.
like
Like, what the
30
hell did I
seconds.
just pay
Yeah.
for?
Yeah.
It's like $10 a second or something. Like,
We would always
dang.
weigh them like, is he likely to go like full rounds? Like, how many people do we
Right.
need to invite over to split the cost of this to make this like reasonable entertainment?
And he's still boxing.
And yeah, he's amazing. He's unbelievable.
So yeah, gosh. No, I don't know. Maybe I'm remembering things wrong. Okay, so this year training camp starts July 25th, kind of the end of July, and it's been like that for a while. But
Right.
wasn't it back in the day that they would start like middle of July or
I thought so. I was trying to remember this not too long ago, but I know that when I went in the year that we beat Seattle in the Super Bowl, so what was that, 2005?
2005, two, four,
Yeah. Um, I went to training camp. It wasn't the first day of training camp, but I went like a week into it or something, or 2 weeks into it, and it was August 4th. I just remember because it was my dad's birthday and I was there. And so it was like a big deal. Do you know what I mean? Because it was his
yeah.
birthday. But yeah, no, I think it's pushed back Maybe because of the addition of extra like OTA activities that they didn't used to have. It's
So
pushed it
I mean,
back, maybe.
maybe if they do 18 games and if they had a bye week, they're gonna have to push everything. Like you can't play into
They're gonna
February
have
and
to give a
March.
preseason game if they do it. They're already saying they're
Yeah,
going to
you kill a
two.
preseason game.
So we'll
Um,
bump back a week to start
yeah,
into August.
yeah. And then yeah, just start in the middle of July. I don't know. I don't
Yeah,
know. But I mean, I don't know how, we talk about how many millions of dollars these guys make. You're asking them for a month to go live in a college dorm that has like nothing.
I love
I
it.
don't that just think it's so funny. I can't wait to see Russell Wilson in a college.
I know. And I love to watch like the first day when all the players start showing up and they're bringing in their stuff and you see like, like Casey Hampton carrying like a recliner on his back or something. I love that stuff. I live
Remember
for
those
it.
old school TVs? They had
Yes,
those big
yes, and he's
giant
wheeling them
TV.
in. Yes, yes, I love that stuff. Somebody
They
always
brought
shows
in
them
their
like a pinball machine or something. Yeah, it's great.
I want to see these dorm rooms because these dorm rooms are probably like the size of a closet,
Right.
but they have a
Yeah.
big giant pinball machine and a giant
Right.
TV.
Right. And then I always wonder, like, what happens to all that stuff? Because they don't haul that stuff all back out of there. They leave with like a tote bag.
I
Not like
think they
they
rent it. I
they
think like
must
there's like a
rent the
rental
stuff or
company that,
something. Yeah.
yeah. Or maybe leave it for the kids. Leave
Leave
it
it
for
for
the
the kids.
college
I was gonna
kids.
say if I were Russell Wilson and I had that kind of money, I'd buy like a nice TV and leave it for whatever kid was
Yeah,
lucky enough to get that dorm room.
yeah. TV costs $1,000. That's
Yeah.
nothing to Russell Wilson.
Students
So
would
yeah.
be entering a lottery to get the Steelers dorm rooms every year.
Seriously.
I mean,
Seriously,
really.
it's like, hey, I got the TJ Watt room or something like
Right.
that. Like,
Yeah. Oh, I would
I
be
mean,
hoping that would
would
rub off on me, just like a little bit of TJ mojo.
would just imagine if he like just like put his signature on, I don't know,
Signature on the
whatever,
wall
on the
or something.
wall or
Yeah,
something like that, or something. Just make it
very
like
cool. I can't even imagine. I would have been so excited when I was in college.
you got a whole bunch of things, but signed jerseys and stuff like that. I got a bunch of stuff. Make it like a Steelers room.
Yeah, yeah, that would be really. I'm telling you, I
Some
think
kid
that
would
that would be
love
so
would
cool.
love to have a Steelers themed
Yeah,
dorm room or something like that.
yeah,
Um, there was a who was it? What was that concert? Oh, Kenny Chesney.
yeah,
Kenny Chesney concerts and Zach Brown band, whoever that is, I don't know.
yeah. I
But
thought Russell Wilson went up on stage or
Russell
something.
Wilson shows up. The dude has the best PR team I've ever seen. My goodness, it's like he's running for mayor. It's like he's running for office. Like, I mean, it's brilliant on his part, and I love it. It don't mean a damn thing come
Yeah,
September, but I'm loving that
yeah.
he's trying to like
He's winning
blend
over the
in.
city of Pittsburgh. He's doing everything he can. Pirates games and Permane Brothers and all of that. He's doing everything he can to win over the city of Pittsburgh. And it's absolutely, I think I said this on your show before, that I don't think that it means that any of it is fake at all. But I do think that he's doing everything he can to show people that he's not the person that people say he is. Do you know what I mean?
Right,
That he's not the prima donna. You're coming into this blue collar city where people have talked about you as the pop star spouse for all these years, that you
right.
carry Prada suitcases and all this stuff. And so to me, I think he's trying hard to show like I fit in here too. Like I'm not that guy. And I think it's a genius move.
He could easily either say nothing or be like, oh, I'm just here to
Right.
play football. Who
Act
what
like
is
he's
this?
better than everybody because that's what we all expected because that's what they
Yeah,
said about him. Like
right,
we all
right,
expected him to just act like he was better than Pittsburgh, and he's not at all.
right, right. He's
If he's
doing
faking
it.
it, he's doing a great job because I believe
Yeah,
all line and sinker. Yeah.
brilliant,
Seems
brilliant
very
move.
sincere.
Yep, yep. So I heard you have a new podcast.
I do. I do. I'm doing a new podcast with a couple of guys from Steeler Nation. It's Zach Franciscus and Bob Quinn, who are both writers at Steelers Nation. Well, Bob was, but now he's managing we're working on a website and the podcast format. And then we also have Ray Whiting, who is a sports broadcaster, radio broadcaster in West Virginia. They're all Steelers fans. It's called Steel City Rings. It's very new, but we do have a website, which is steelcityrings.com. And we have a podcast on YouTube, and we're also on Twitter and Instagram and I believe Facebook. If you go to my Twitter page, I'll put a link for the podcast up on that too. I think I need to update my bio, but I'll put it in there. And it's fun. We're just talking Steelers stuff. We're really interested in hearing from fans. So we're hoping to get people to send us in questions, to send us in topics, to join us in a chat. We're going to do 2 shows a week, one live and one tape. So a pregame show or a postgame show that's a live reaction, and then a pregame show that's taped. So we're hoping to get some fan involvement and looking forward to that. We're working on guests right now and topics and all of those things. A lot of fun.
As many Steelers podcasts are out there, there still needs to be more. There's
Yeah.
still hey, it's June. We still have plenty of Steelers stuff to talk about.
I
So
tell everybody
yeah,
there's enough to go around. There's something for everybody. There's a lot to talk about. We're definitely very laid back. We're more interested in focusing on the opposing viewpoints of things. So like last week we talked about like why or why not would Juju be a good fit for the Steelers? Do you know what I mean? Versus than looking at like the X's and O's of how Juju fits into the offense. Do you know what I mean?
right.
It's more like the fan kind of opinion on those things. But we spend a lot of time and immersed in it because we write about it all day and there's just a lot to talk about. So we're excited. Steel City Rings.
SteelCityRings.com.
Yep.
Awesome.
Yeah.
All right. Well,
Thank you.
thank you for coming on. Always
Anytime.
great having you on.
Always
So,
fun.
all right, I'll see you.
Okay. Bye.
Bye.